About Time is a movie in my top 100, and as per my most recent Letterboxd review of it, I think it's one of the most inescapably perfect and beautiful films I have ever seen. I think it does so many things right. It's a perfect romance movie, a perfect time travel movie, a perfect comedy, but the one thing that makes this movie stand out above all is how it handles its themes of love, family, and time. Those themes are very well explored motifs. Almost every film ever made explores one of them in some way or another, but I think this film encapsulates all of those themes almost better than any other film, as well as how they're all related so closely. To first make this point, I always think about the intro of this film. Our lead character Tim is detailing the people in his life, notably his family, and each of them seem unique in some way, but specifically the father character, who Tim mentions always manages to find time, which is obviously a nod to the fact that he can time travel, but also is a very important detail about how giving his father is with his gift of extra time. He doesn't selfishly waste it, he uses it to spend more time with those he loves, and that's one of the perfect aspects of this film. Character. We build so much character with very little. It's such an efficient screenplay. The first ever time we really see Tim is at this New Year's party, and the very first thing we learn about him from simply seeing him is that he stinks at social interaction. And that's especially with women. He fumbles a kissing moment and fails to interact with basically anyone, and this minor setup is what leads us into what I call time travel learning, because he spends the whole movie trying to undo who he is in this very moment with the use of time travel. Now, after this cute interaction of him being told he has powers, his first ever experience time traveling, he's on a mission to undo who he is in that moment. He even expresses explicitly that he hopes his abilities allow him to get a girlfriend. So what does he do? He goes back to New Year's to kiss the girl he chickened out on, which is also a hint on how he'll use his powers later on. I mean, even in the coming sequences, he time travels to attempt a relationship with Charlotte, his sister's friend, and he learns a lot from this experience. More that sometimes time travel doesn't fix a timeline that was never meant to be. No matter when he asks Charlotte over the summer to be with him, it's never the right time. However, fast forwarding to when he's living in London and goes on his first unofficial date with Mary, he hits it off immediately and secures her phone number that night. He didn't need any sort of time travel shenanigans to aid him in that, because their chemistry was pure. Their first meeting is actually so charming and wonderful. They have so much chemistry without having a physical performance, which not only is a credit to Rachel McAdams and Donald Gleason as performers, where they can express chemistry through only vocal performances, but also a credit to the screenplay, especially the dialogue. It's a very unique meet cute, and in this situation they can't have love at first sight. It's the time they spend together and their personalities that pull them together. Now, on his journey of time travel learning, his new housemate Harry has a new play open, and it goes atrociously as an actor forgets a line that bombs the whole show. And Tim, being a good person, he goes back in time in an attempt to fix that for him. He successfully does, but in the process he loses Mary's number. It's his first step into realizing that attempting to fix one thing will inevitably undo another. Time travel is fragile even when limited to your own timeline. You see, when he asks his father what he does with his gift, his father says reading. He does an incredible amount of reading and learning, noting that he doesn't use it for money, for power, for personal gain, or to change things. It's something Tim is yet to really pick up on. So, having lost her number, he wallers about a bit until he figures out a way to manufacture another meet cute, and it doesn't go nearly as well as the first time, and though he does eventually wheedle his way into leeching onto her day, he discovers she has a new boyfriend by now, and he has to go and manufacture a third meet cute, and he speedruns this conversation, takes her for a meal, and that's where they discover their chemistry again, of a conversation and food. So they get together, and now the next stuff. It's just life. He goes forward, then back and forth a little, and life just keeps persisting, trucking forward, until Kit Kat, his sister, has a horrible car accident, and he fixes it, but in turn creates a new baby, since he goes back to before his current baby was born to stop Katie from ever meeting her current abusive boyfriend. It's a lot going on, but You have to run with me. So now Tim is not only dealing with Kit Kat's issues, but also his own paternal issues. Eventually he realizes that he has to let his sister get into her accident and make all of her mistakes. Not only because it brings back his real child, but also Katie's life is better for her tribulations because she learns from those experiences. Time travel used in this way only serves to reduce a person's growth. Pain, anger, turmoil, all of those things are what craft a person and teach them lessons. It's like going back and stopping your child from touching the stove. They almost need to know not to. Now the basic premise of this movie is a guy uses time travel to secure a relationship with a woman, but the trick here being that he never actually needed it. Pretty much all the time traveling he does to fix something either makes it worse, is completely redundant, or creates new problems. There's a line where Tim says in the narration when talking about Charlotte earlier in the film, and that's, "All the time traveling in the world can't make someone love you." It's an excellent point because with Mary, he didn't use time travel to make her love him. He could have had her the whole time without it. The resurgence of Charlotte during the second act, his first love, is there to show him how little they have in common and how little chemistry they have. He has to redo it multiple times until he gives up. Time traveling doesn't make them compatible. Despite that, they go on a weird date and it makes him realize they're just not meant to be, which leads him on a journey that will last him a lifetime. He gets married, he has kids, his father dies, it's all a journey, but before his father goes, he hands him one final piece of advice. He tells him to redo every day just once, using the second time around to learn how to enjoy the finer details of life, which works for a while. Then eventually Mary wants a third child because life is always moving forward for her. There is no reverse and no slowing, she wants to move on, but if he does this, because of the lesson we learned with Kit Kat, he will have to lose his father forever in death. But he comes to accept it because that's how life works. You can't have those you love forever. That's what makes them so special. Life is beautiful because of how finite it is, which is the eventual lesson. He goes one further than his dad and never redoes a single moment again. He lives every day like it's his second time round. It's a phenomenal message about paying attention, about respecting the time that you have and how you spend it, who you spend it with. I mentioned at the top of this video that this film is full of so many characters that make this movie work, and they each serve the story to make these motifs the more powerful. Bill Nighy as the father is easily the best character in the movie, infinitely charming, and specifically his relationship with his son is what makes the film so special. And oftentimes more than the romantic angle, he brings a real sense of heart where most of the other side characters are comedic relief that also have some heart but are there to bring the funnies mostly. His first meeting with Harry is absolutely golden, and honestly every single interaction with the character is better than the last. These line readings from Tom Hollander are some all-timers. And honestly, the line readings all around are incredible.
We have to go! I found a car and his dodgy friend is about to assault me.
Rory is so David Brent coded, but he weirdly pulls it off as charming.
Well, who knows, we might become pals, etc.
Dodgy Jay, despite being constantly dogged on, leads Tim to Mary and also brings joy and happiness to his sister in the end. Richard Griffiths, may he rest in peace, is strikingly memorable for what little screen time he has, and I love how Uncle Desmond is so forgetful. It just plays into the theme of time so well, because almost every experience is like new to him, which is kind of how Tim ends up in the end. Also this moment.
At your wedding he said he loved me.
He does.
I know. That was the best day of my life.
I also love how in the film there's no real explanation for the time travel stuff. They just say the men in the family can do it, there's a couple rules, and then we get going. There isn't some deep lore to it, or at least they don't try to rationalize it at all, and I appreciate that kind of faith in the audience. Also, I like the montage scene whilst How Long Will I Love You plays. It's just one constant stream of time where we see so much character development with no rewinds, and it's perfect. Also, the song choice is incredible. incredible because it's a song about the sensitivity of time, about the urgency of the moment and how life will move forward and we have to choose the people we spend that fleeting time with well. Plus, there's loads of extra stuff in this that I love, like how the poster for the film and the title card has the word time capitalized and in bold because it's the more important half of the title. I love the fact the New Year's Party plays Push the Button by the Sugar Babes, which is a goated song. I love this actor's face when his co-star fumbles his lines. It makes me chuckle every time. The dad smiling in the background of every scene knowing that Tim is on his multiple attempt of any given moment, and it's always funny. And the cancer diagnosis / death of his father is one of the biggest gut punches I've experienced in film. Overall, I think this is a film that is everything it needed to be. It's a star example of a perfect and effective movie. There's brevity in every scene and I cannot express the love I feel for this film more than this. It does what it needed to do with maximum efficiency and it is, as I said, indescribably beautiful. But that's just me. Have you seen About Time? If so, let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think of this video and whether it's a movie about the finite beauty of time or not. As always, keep watching movies.